Good evening to you. This is State of Affairs. Thank you for welcoming us into your home. I'm Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah, sitting in for your regular GHOne. Tonight, we are focusing on the fight against illegal mining. Are we really winning it? And what are the measures that are being put in place to eradicate this menace once and for all? Today, I will be bringing you expert responses, and we'll be hearing from those on the ground. Do stay with me. I'll be introducing my guests shortly. Now, have you heard the latest from MTN? If not, then listeners, for those of you who love MTN Free After One, prepare for the upgraded experience that is MTN Free After One Extra. Now, let me tell you what the extra is all about. With MTN Free After One Extra, you can talk for 1 whole hour uninterrupted while paying for only the first minute of every 10 minutes you talk, which means for every 10 minutes you talk within the hour, you only pay for the first minute, and you get to talk for 60 minutes straight with no interruptions. You like what you hear? Well, as if that's not enough, you also get 50 megabytes of data for free after your first call daily. So you see, now is the time to talk extra with all the people you love. To subscribe to MTN Free After One Extra today, just dial *550# *550# and follow the prompts, and that's how you get to enjoy MTN After One Extra. Like I told you earlier, we're talking Galamsey, probably the most used word in this country in this year. We've spoken about the fight, we've deliberated about it, we've sought solutions to the problem, but it appears for many, you're still either not making the progress we want, or at least at the pace we want it. Tonight, I've been joined from the EPA Deputy CEO, Dr. Michael Ayamga Adongo, and the Forestry Commission's Deputy CEO, Elikem Kotoko. It's a night for the deputies. Good evening, welcome to the program.
Good evening, and thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And I'm sure that prior to assuming office, and Prof, for you, prior to being appointed, you had been following the conversations about Galamsey. I have been talking about Galamsey for almost a decade on television, trying to find solutions, trying to press on government to do the needful. We are where we are today because many believe the former government was not decisive enough given the 8-year period. Galamsey was topical during the elections. In fact, many believe that Galamsey was the trump card when it came to winning or losing the 2024 election. So a new government was voted in, promises were made. Now it appears the goalpost is shifting. Or, Elikem, what's happening? Why aren't we seeing at least the posturing, the aggression? Have you discovered anything that in hindsight would have probably made you a bit more toned down in your criticism of the previous government?
Thank you so much, Bernice, and thanks for having me. Nothing has changed. The government has not relented in its efforts, and this regime in particular is bent on making sure we nip this in the bud. Why am I saying this? In the past, many were those who called for state of emergency. Reasons they called for that was justified because 9 of our forest zones at the time were in the hands of miscreants who had invaded these forests and were embarking on their environmental enterprise. Then also, there were still a lot of licenses being issued at the time when there was a supposed ban. It was also around the same time that Ghana's gold export reached its highest when there was a supposed ban. Don't also forget that around this same time, what happened? The previous regime pushed through into action the LI, which allowed for mining in the forest reserves, and they issued over 44 of such licenses from the time that went to they were leaving office. You can imagine that. So it was a deliberate attempt to do so. But these conditions no longer are existing. Number one, President John Dramani Mahama, combining his goodwill with the political will, has decided that there must be stricter enforcement, and the Attorney General has actually corroborated same. The most recent was on Friday when he met with the CSOs. The Attorney General made it clear that one of the known kingpins who prided himself to be a kingpin in mining, who Chairman Wontumi, the matter is being sent to court, so I'm careful but not afraid. You recall videos of him when in studios, even showing bars of gold and all of that. And that is a major kingpin. It has got nothing to do with politics, but that is a major kingpin that needs to be got after, because there were many people.
Hold on that point. Mining is not illegal.
No, President Mahama does not. I can tell you. I mean,
so I mean, on the bit of Chairman Wontumi, and you just mentioned that he's in court, and I know that if you've been following the news, he was granted bail today. He will be appearing in court hopefully tomorrow, sometime during the week.
So let me
but
put
it's
it
on
let me put it in.
charges of illegal mining, but he hasn't been found guilty yet.
Yeah.
So to declare him a kingpin, it's just what I want to
It remains
address.
what has facilitated the process to reach where he is now, and that's why I'm saying I'm not afraid to say what needs to be said, not because this matter is in court. At the time he was arrested and had to be dealt with, it was because he was seen to be a kingpin engaged in illegal mining. I was even there on the site in Summerboy. We met people who told us point blank, in black and white, that they pay weekly monies for mining in his concession. They breached Forestry Commission's Compartment 198 in this exercise, for instance. Now, so this is one of them, because when there are kingpins like this, they have a lot of tributaries. And I have no doubt that Chairman Wontumi is one. The rest, let's leave it there. I said this on the program 2 days ago, 3 days ago.
I was just coming
and let me
to
say
that,
it again.
About a certain manipulation, money changing hands.
Where?
Did you ever allude to that?
Well, let me say on set here that I recall after that exercise, Chairman Wontumi called me. And so I received a call from a number I didn't know, obviously. They said, "Hello, Elikem. This is Chairman Wontumi." I said, okay. Then he repeated again. I said, this is Chairman Wontumi. I said, yes, I've heard you, Chairman. How are you? I said, oh, now Elikem, now who am Madam for power? I now Mr. So who was crying Madam for Elikem? I went back Kumasi. I have nothing to talk to you in Kumasi with. So I wrote him off. I mean, the facts are the facts, and so that's why I'm saying it today. So President Mahama has not only combined the goodwill and political will to make sure that enforcement is done. The Attorney General has made us know that on the 14th of October, the first document to be laid before Parliament will be a repeal of the LI 2462. But the first thing President Mahama did, which was significant, was to announce that there was not going to be the issuance of any licenses whatsoever in the mining of forest
I'll have you
reserves.
hold your thought there, because I'll come back to you on what you believe are the measures you've put in place as against what we have seen on the ground.
Exactly.
In terms of whether the results correlate with those measures. But let me bring Prof in. Prof, welcome to the program once again. Now, in your outfit, the two heads, that's yourself and your CEO, are professors. And it excites many people, because in my conversations on Galamsey, many people believe that we have always focused on the political actors. Yes, your appointment is a political one, but many believe that you bring on board some level of expertise coming from your work in academia and real-time practice. Elikem spoke about the fact that no licenses have been issued so far and all the measures that have been put in place. But we've still seen, in fact, higher levels of contamination in our water bodies. Turbidity is rising. How do you resolve that conflict?
Yes, I thank you. Happy to share the stage with Elikem, and happy to be here for the first time. And good evening to fellow Ghanaians. It is mind-boggling. I think maybe my boss and I are beginning to make our expertise felt. For the time being, we were quite diplomatic, and I think maybe people thought we were just politicians. I think that over the past couple of days, I think somebody had to rub my boss the wrong way and realize that
we'll come to that.
He is a professor. But one of the things you didn't mention was the first thing Prof. Klute did was to actually stop the issuance of licenses. And to do that, and maybe we give permits, we don't give licenses. So she made sure that no one signed permits except her. What happened was then there was a backlog, but then we have the chance to go through it, to look at them over and over again. Hitherto, yes, we allowed, we can sign permits, but that fiat she introduced, when I came in, it was the first, people were, go tell your boss it's your right to sign the permits, why don't you? And I'm like, why would I want to sign permits? I'm sitting here cool and I want to, but when I looked into, I realized that if I am reviewing a document, an application, and I know the CEO is going to see it and sign, then I'm going to be extra careful. And what it has done is to curtail that wanton passing of permits and issuing them here and there, and you are sitting somewhere, someone calls you, and then people hurriedly put something together and they bring it, you sign. The CEO isn't even aware permits are being signed. So that was one thing she did first, which I think is laudable. Even now, I have grown into it. I love not signing permits, and I just got a message that I have to look at signing some, and I'm like, I don't want to start, because actually it puts everybody on the toes, because every work you are doing as far as giving permits is concerned is going to eventually land on the table of the CEO, and she is going to look at it. And I can assure you, Prof. Kluchi is someone who pays a lot of attention to details, and I get stand by it fine. I'm somebody very comfortable with numbers and figures, but you see the extent to which it pays attention to details, you realize, okay, we're probably going to achieve a lot in the EPA as far as ensuring that there is discipline.
Right. We're in the month of October. We've got barely 2 months to end the year. So you've been doing this for some time. My question is, why does it appear that we're not seeing the results on the ground? If those measures are as impactful as you're touting, what is happening to our water? Why do we still have chemicals in there? Rising levels of contamination. Why do we still have rising levels in turbidity? That is my major concern.
You see, when we were in basic school, they only said the soils that get eroded are the bare ones. When the soil is bare and it rains, it gets eroded, and then that water washes into the water bodies and it gets thicker. And the following year, if there is no cover on that soil, it gets further eroded, and then the water bodies get murkier. What am I saying? We are not going to see improvement in the water levels, in the water quality, the turbidities and the rest, until we significantly see a reversal in the degradation of Galamsey areas. Let me just give you an overview. We are talking about 5,500 hectares of land as of 2024 that was destroyed. To put that in layman terms, it's about 7,500 football fields. Imagine, and it's not just the topsoil that is taken away. These are dug deep, the mud brought up, thrown everywhere, the tree cover gone. Every year when it rains, there's going to be runoff from these places going into the water. If you were not aware, you would think, okay, this is new areas that have come under Galamsey.
So do I glean from what you're saying that every time we see our waters looking muddier, doesn't necessarily mean that there's Galamsey
it's
happening
increasing.
around.
No.
So this was same in the previous year, and this was same in the previous year and under the previous regime. Is that the case?
Yes, I'm not sitting here and denying that Galamsey has stopped. That maybe there hasn't been some increase in but the rate at which degradation was growing has been significantly curtailed. And I'm now saying that if we are to reclaim, let me just say, for example, that we reclaimed all the 7,500 hectares that we're talking about. We planted trees. The trees don't grow in 1 year. Plus, the soils have been degraded. These are not fertile soils anymore, and trees are not going to grow as fast as when you plant them in fertile soils. So we're going to have a situation where it may take 2-3 years before the vegetation cover is able to stand any runoff. And then we'll begin to see improvements in the turbidity levels. We are saying that, yes, nature has a way of recovering, but we have to help nature. And that help we are giving nature is by accelerating the reclamation efforts. That's why you are seeing the Tree for Life program, the One Tree program. And then we also talked about some pilots, all geared at giving nature a hand to accelerate the rate of recovery. But we have to face it, that if we sat down and we had a system that allowed within a short period of time 5,500 hectares of land in forest reserves. I'm just talking of the forest reserves. We have about 288 forest reserves. 44 of these were degraded. Of the 44, 12 of them were designated as no-go areas. That one of the best militaries in the continent of Africa, that's the Ghanaian army, couldn't go inside there. First, because there wasn't the political will, and then second, because they were taken over by gangs and gun-wielding gangs. So this is the situation we were dealing with. And there was another leg of it, and Elikan mentioned it and I didn't. You see, we talk about legal mining, but there is a fine line between legal and illegal mining. That if somebody gets a concession, his 25 acres of land, pays for permit from EPA, goes through a whole lot of processes and gets there and there's no gold. And the next concession that is close to the riverbed, there is gold in there, they go in. So the wanton issuance of licenses without any safeguards to ensure that people do not go outside their concessions, and also deliberately weakening the security systems to the extent that it gave illegal miners the edge over normal security operations, then we have a problem. And that problem was that people mine irresponsibly at an increasing rate, and it had gotten to a point that with any little runoff, when there is flooding and you take an area view, you just think that the whole country is a Galamsey pit.
Interesting. There's a lot to think about based on your submission on the issue of whether really it is the depletion of forest covers and erosion that is causing our waters to look the way they do. Because I remember in the build-up to the 2024 elections, the waters began to clear. The waters looked clear. I mean, we have evidence of that. So, I mean, I leave it to the audience to judge, especially on what to make of that submission. But let me come to you, Elikem, because some of your party officials have been accused of being complicit. It's almost as if it's a cycle of you do me, I do you. You did it, we do it. It's our turn now. Let me just a minute. Let me just land on the question. So, during the encounter with the CSOs, I beg your pardon, by the presidency, it was something that came to fore. Mr. Kenashibe asked about that. CSOs are worried that we are being selective in who we are deciding to punish for what. You work with the Forestry Commission. I'm sure you're keenly interested in the Yamin and your other colleague issue. What are you able to tell us about that?
Yeah, it is one thing accusing people and another adducing evidence to that effect. And the president has made it very clear, even if you are accused, there will be the need for you to be given the full right to also tell your side of the story. And I am fully aware, I think the two gentlemen, Dr. Yamin is my direct boss. I'm the deputy national organizer. And so he and Comrade Abanga have actually going through, I think if my memory serves me right, I'm told that they will be referred to GHOne and they will be presenting any evidence to that effect. The president has made it very clear. It doesn't matter who you are. And the sector minister made it clear last 2 weekends to the NIMOS that from now onwards, there's no bigger person obstructionist whose order you should take. The biggest person is the president, who is the one empowering you to go out there. It is the reason why I would want to outline the measures taken in order to make sure we nip this in the bud and it will not be business as usual. The first thing the president did was the announcement that there will not be any further issuance of licenses into forest reserves. This is to allow a proper assessment of the extent of damage done.
Has that assessment been done?
It's ongoing.
How long do you need to finish it?
I cannot tell. They need to do a thorough job, and that is why, for instance,
you don't have any timelines. For
no, but I know. But I am aware that the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Alhaji Suleimana, is almost wrapping up that. As I speak, about 1,278 licenses have been reviewed. 55 have been revoked immediately. 907 risk being revoked in addition. Only 316 have been considered to be clean so far. And so this is an ongoing process that must be done thoroughly with due diligence. Now, while you are not issuing licenses, the 9 forest reserves that were taken over by the insurgents, the 9 red zones, have been repossessed by government, which is a significant achievement that we've been able to take that from their hands. And it does not rule out the fact that there are still pockets of illegal mining going on here and there.
So you do admit that?
Yes, no, definitely. We can never say that. We haven't ended it yet, but I am impressed with what we are doing, and I'm convinced that we'll end it. And don't forget that this is 8 months, 9 months this government is taking on this fight. And if this was the approach previous governments had taken, I am sure they would have nipped it in the bud in the first or second year. Apart from that, the sector minister, Honorable Emmanuel Amakofibua, who doubles as sector caretaker minister for Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology, and member of Parliament for Elembele, has again also written to the Attorney General to consider the repeal of the LI 2462. When the Attorney General met the CSOs at the Jubilee House, he did make it clear to them all that that is a consideration and will be laid before the House on the 14th of October. Another great stride
but
to
you
be.
know, Parliament, the recall has been suspended indefinitely.
Well, whatever. But I mean, even if they say indefinitely, it will not take beyond a week or so because they definitely need to get running, and so they will come. And whatever time they come, one of the first documents, a focus area. Then also, the minister has gone further to declare the water bodies and forest reserves security zone. There are many who have been calling for, how do you call it, state of emergency. If a state of emergency is declared today, it also would mean that they will further have to even declare those places security zone. So there's a component of that being implemented already. That is why the president continues to say, I have not been advised yet by my security or capos. They and myself, I do not feel that there's anything beyond me now where I will say that I wish the Constitution had given me this extra power or that extra power to do A, B, or C. He believes it is within them. Further, in the previous regime or in the past, excavators used to pass through our ports just like gates running through. There was no proper tracking, etc., or even registration. This time around, we are making sure that we register them, we put trackers on them, and geofence them. Henceforth, also, anybody who is trying to bring an import an excavator must have the necessary approvals before doing so. So you don't say that I'm a contractor, I'm coming to do this, and then we find you using it for any inappropriate purpose. Then also the icing on the cake is the introduction of NIMOS, National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, headed by Colonel Dominic Boer. And Colonel Boer is doing a stellar job. What we need to do, and the public needs to know about these, which I must emphasize here, is that NIMOS has come to become the major and only task force mandated to fight the Galamsey, so that we do not have somebody saying, I'm from national security, I am clothed with these, I am from this and that. It allowed for distortions and there was no coordinated effort. There were some people who were either impersonating and compromising and creating certain false impressions amongst other things. If there's anybody respectfully, even if you're a DCE, you're a sector minister, whatever concerns or whatever tip-offs you have, reach out to NIMOS so that there will not be an allegation against you tomorrow that, oh, DCE came to our place and we sorted him out with this and all that. Everything must be well-channeled, well-coordinated, effective and efficient management. So these are the things being rolled out. And also, we can't rule out the fact that people engaged in this enterprise are seeing good money. 1,000 cities, 5,000, 2,000 a day. Now you want to give him an alternative livelihood and it's going to be 2,000 for a whole month. But we can do this by proper, strong advocacy when we make them know that the impact of their activity on the environment, on the health of others, etc., requires that they must re-understand. I always and have consistently made this example, and I must emphasize it here as well, even if our listeners are fed up with it. It's Captain Planet. When we used to watch Captain Planet, we saw it only as an action movie. But now you can tell that it was about environmental degradation, fighting pollution, etc. So when the young men are no longer able to fight Captain Pollution, etc., then they start and say, well, let our powers combine. Air, wind, heart, whatever. Kwame is also in there in Ghana. So there's a new Captain Planet, which is President Mahama. We are fighting that to make sure that are we able to, if we are not able to, we'll call on him to declare that state of emergency. So currently as it starts, and one critical thing we need to look at is our chiefs, our traditional authorities, i.e. the chiefs, opinion leaders, youth groups, etc. They play an integral role because wherever there's this activity or illegality going on, the chiefs are aware, etc. But some of these Galamsey have become so powerful that they are behind the installment of some of these chiefs. It is the reason also why we have some of these heightened traditional disagreements, etc.
You mentioned chiefs, but what about DCEs? Because you're looking at a decentralized form of governance, and you're looking at DCEs heading DISEC.
Yes.
Even though NIMOS
is there,
we have district chief executives supervising security and issues of security within their various districts. Shouldn't it be part of their KPIs?
That is the reason why.
So DCEs are brought on board. If there's something happening in your district and you're not able to sort it out, it will lead to some form of assessment.
I agree perfectly. And the president made that very clear. And that is why we are putting out the roadmap that if you hear anything or you have any tip-off, notify NIMOS. They are better clothes. Even though you have DISEC, I'm not sure DISEC is more powered than the NIMOS, because NIMOS is drawing the security agencies in terms of, it can be military, navy, the police service, the NACOC, because these guys, some of them are engaged in a lot of drug on their foot. The police are involved, the National Signals Bureau, National Security, all of that, so that we make sure that we properly address the matter. So they are involved, but that is why I must emphasize here that even at the district level, we trust in their powers and everything, but when you get any such intel or information, relay it to NIMOS, then they will be able to zoom in. I mean, a critical example worthy of mention is the Anyanfotu Forest Reserve, where an operation was carried out. And the following day or two, the guys had gone back in there. It took NIMOS to quickly go there and extinguish that. And 9 of these criminals were arrested. 24 hours after that, they were brought into Accra. We've split them to various police stations. And as I speak with you, the minister himself made a call to the Attorney General for expedite action on them to prosecute this. And there are over 600 of such cases being prosecuted by them.
You're talking about alerting NIMOS, calling, reaching out.
Yeah.
But a few days ago, we saw on social media something that appeared distasteful for many Ghanaians between Ken Ashibe and Deputy Chief of Staff Stan Tope, where he highlighted an issue of illegal mining and was met with a certain response.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Are you saying you haven't seen that?
Sincerely, I'm not. I must be very frank with you. If there is any certain manner where, but if you brief me, then what is Ali?
Prof, are you aware?
I heard there's something going on, but
okay.
Yeah, but
all right.
Because I know. Let me even tell you today, for those who do not even know. For instance, we have a platform created for this whole fight and all that. And Ken Ashibe is one of those who is even on that platform. This is no secrecy, so I can make this known. He's also one of those there, and he professes solutions. It is no doubt that he holds a certain view, which is just a single divergent from every other thing, that there must be the declaration of a state of emergency, because he believes that will give the president the powers to say, let's arrest these people, let's seize any land and all of that. But you see, the president feels that apart from he himself not feeling that there's a need for that now because there are measures being rolled out, the security apparatus has not also briefed him or advised that way. Many have also raised the argument that he is shifting the blame. He's not shifting the blame. Even if the Constitution allows you to do so, there are still protocols you must go through. You can declare a state of emergency today, but the law can still take you on tomorrow. That was it warranted? Was it approved by the necessary? Did you go through the necessary security clearance? And so it is okay for a layman watching to just say, declare state of emergency, declare state of emergency. And it is not to rule out the extent of scourge and the damage being done. Lives are being lost, children are being born with defects, among other things. But we must approach it nicely. Again, let me reiterate that the Sector Minister, Honorable Amar Kofi Boah, has empowered 9 months further, that instead of politicians being at the forefront to go and engage the traditional authorities, we have done the youth engagements already at the ministerial level. Now 9 months is moving in. When they come to your community and they feel that there's a hint that you as a chief, you are involved or something else, they will come and approach you strictly. And you know how the military do their things. They will not be so generally civil about that. They will tell you straight in the face, Nana, this is what we have seen. We're giving you 10 hours. Let these people move that. If you cannot do it within the next 12 hours, these are the actions we'll be taking. And they'll move forward. And they will do that. So that nobody will now say that, you see politician, when he comes, now, and all of that. No, there will not be any such thing. We will even be deploying AI, as the president said. I must reiterate that over here, to also combat this.
I'll come back to you on exactly what you mean when you say AI, because when it comes to
let me say technology.
The use of words sometimes is thrown about, in a very generic sense. We want the very fine details so we can hold you to it. Yeah. If you're watching State of Affairs tonight, we're talking about Galamsey, we're talking about how well we've done in a fight, bringing up all the issues that matter to you at home, also because we are being told that our food is getting contaminated by the day. We are having our water also terribly contaminated. And so this is a conversation that borders on life and death and good living. You want to stay with me? When I come back, I'll be asking Prof more on what they're doing. If you've been following the news, you might have heard the word dechemicalization. What does it really mean? I'll be back with more. On State of Affairs, I'm Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Today we're talking about Galamsey and its impact on your health and the environment. And I've been joined by Deputy CEOs of the Forestry Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency, Elikem Kotoko and Prof. Ayamga. Thank you for holding on for us. So, Elikem, we were talking about the deployment of technology. And Prof, I'll come to you on the bit of dechemicalization shortly. But briefly tell us, what is the exact technology you're hoping to deploy?
Okay, so what we intend to do is to have what you call, it will be a heat sensor that will sense even heat, smoke and sound. So if there's a certain sound from a forest area, it can quickly tell you this is from an AK-47. This heat or this level of smoke is from an excavator. So you can quickly zoom in there and be able to doubt whatever fires that are happening there. The reason being that some of the people are so also improved that they go in there, they do not easily deplete the forest or graze the place, but they are engaged in the activity, and the cover of the forest vegetation gives them that cover. You don't notice. But with technology, this will enable us. Secondly, some of these, there's a myth around gold that it is spiritual. And so people offer a lot of libations and all of that. These small boys or guys who are even employed or recruited to do these things are made to even take blood covenants, various kinds of oaths or vows. So they do not want to disclose who their authorities are. We now have to deploy technology to see if we are able to know your conversations, and we know who you speak to or who you don't speak to, how you go, your movement. And so it is not everybody we are even arresting from the word go. Right. There are some people who are under strict surveillance. It's not known to them. This is no news. I can tell you, because it is in your own interest to stop or be caught. So they are being surveilled, and when eventually we are convinced that this is another kingpin, then there will be a proper raid in order to make sure that these people are brought to book. Because the environmental decadence is the impact on you and I, the heavy metals contained in the food we are eating that are being talked about. It is no joke. And so now that the science tells us that eat a balanced meal every day, take a fruit or a vegetable, you take those things and still you don't know whether you are taking poison or not.
What you've just told us appears a bit sophisticated.
Yeah,
how much is it going to cost to study?
I cannot quantify to tell figures over here now. I'm not even sure I am mandated to do so. As and when everything is about to be rolled out, the appropriate authority will do so. But
when are we expecting a rollout?
I cannot give that also, but it is something that is in the pipeline. And for instance, I can tell you again, we're trying to put up a studio that would give regular updates on what is going on with Forestry Commission, with NIMOS. So this studio is something we already have. Okay. And so we're just going to reactivate it to make sure that...
A studio, so what's the means of broadcast? Are you having your own channel?
No, you can call it, we will produce and give to sister stations to also, and it's going to be online. Technology now makes it easier for everybody.
I just wanted to understand exactly what you meant by a studio. And
and we are trying to even look, you see, we need to confront this in short, medium, and long term. So, for instance, even our schools, we need to have forest clubs, we need to have forest festivals, rhymes and poetry recitals related to our environment and all of that. This requires collaboration with Ministry of Education or Ghana Education Service to do so. Now, the Forestry Commission itself is always understaffed when it comes to managing or guarding about 288 of our forest reserves.
I will come to that issue because I also have taken note of some concerns, especially about the capacity. Beyond the numbers you have, it also has to do with the capacity of the people you send into these forests and whether they have what it takes to do the jobs
I will tell you about that.
They have been assigned to. But let me come to you, Prof. I'm not interested in what terminology is the most appropriate. I think that that has been belabored. But I just want for you to explain to us this technology of either dechemicalizing or removing contaminants, or however we want to put it, in our waters, how it works, and when you're going to start, employing its use.
Yes, I think I share your sentiment. I was also surprised that the semantics of a simple word generated that episode. But it tells who we are as a nation. We believe in the grammar in the West more than the action itself. And as you rightly said, it's simple. Before I even get to that, we believe in an all options approach to reversing the environmental degradation that we find our country in. The first and most important is to stop the source of the pollution. So that is why you are having NIMOS empowered to be ruthless. And Colonel Bua, I was at the Flagstaff House on Friday, the Jubilee House on Friday, and Colonel Bua told everybody how ruthless they are going to be. One of the things you need to understand is that the country is covered in gold. So I was just listening to Elikam and the passion for a state of emergency localized. I sit and I find that difficult. Since we have gold across the length and breadth of this country, you cannot impose a localized state of emergency. And
the call for a localized state of emergency is for places that have been considered hotspots as we speak. So there are areas that we know, there are forest reserves that we know that, as a matter of fact, this is a hotspot, that is a hotspot. That's what the state of emergency is for, really.
And that's what we are saying, that this thing has been a moving target. And Elikam rightly said, there were 12 forest reserves in this country that even our soldiers could not go in. And 9 of them were controlled by gun-wielding gangs. And as we speak, all those 12 have been reclaimed. And the 44 hospitals, the 44 forest reserves out of the 288 forest reserves that we have in this country, that were encroached, that's about 16% of our forest reserves, are now designated security zones and are going to be policed by the military. So you are going to have permanent military presence in these places. So it's no longer go flash, go out, and they come back. They are going to be there. So you don't need a state of emergency to move in the soldiers now. I sitting here, I'm not against a state of emergency. In fact, I was speaking with somebody and I said, if push comes to shove, I'm going to walk to Attorney General. Fortunately, it's my cousin. I want a situation where when we arrest people, this 48-hour rule doesn't apply to them. So can we do something? Can we go to Parliament and work some legal something? So that when we arrest you in a Galamsey activity, you don't have the right to a bail in 48 hours. I believe that if we are able to go this direction, we will not need any state of emergency, because as far as I am concerned, in many of these Galamsey areas, we already have a state of emergency in place, something similar to it. And you go in there and let Colonel Bua and his men get you, and you understand what we are talking about here. Yes, we cannot go about making this fight against Galamsey a discussion thing.
Yes, I think we're digressing a bit. Let's come back to the issue of the
so I'm going there
removing
now.
The contamination.
Yes, so
how
as
exactly
I
is that going to work?
First, we had to tackle the source of the pollution, stop the illegal mine. The second one was the reclamation. That's to plant the trees. And there's this technology, we get a lot of them. There are some from this country, some from Norway, some there are even others, Indian and so. I remember I entered into the boardroom one day and the boss was there. And there's this glass there with murky water at first. And then I think some additives were put in there. And with time, you can walk into a boardroom there. You see that the water is cleaned. And they coined a term and they called it dechemicalization. The idea being to make something catchy that the layman understands and we can use. And what we now want to do is to at least take the pilot a little higher and to see whether is it possible to roll this thing out on a large scale. There has been evidence of that happening in so many countries. Unfortunately, we have river bodies, and we need to test to see their practicability in river bodies. If not that, there are other areas that you have the Galamsey. They are not necessarily river bodies, but large expanses of land that have deposits of these heavy metals in them? Can we do something about them? Can we use this technology to at least improve the water, that is detoxify it or dechemicalize it, if you want to go with the word we want to coin to drive this thing home. And then what are we doing? We are giving nature a helping hand. In addition to reclaiming and planting trees and the rest.
So you say that this is still at the pilot stage?
Yes, it's still at the pilot stage. I think Prof. Blancrucci said it was at the pilot stage. And we want to go a step further.
Not everybody had the opportunity to listen to her, so we'd like for you to also explain it to us. So what does it entail? So does it mean you have to pour a certain chemical into the water body? Does it come in a tablet form? Just help us in terms
I think
of...
there are additives. There are additives. There are chemicals.
Okay. So the chemicals are introduced into the water body
to at least, and through a chemical process, it's able to neutralize the effect of mercury and other things like cyanide that are the very dangerous toxins that...
But we've been told that those heavy metals are quite difficult to deal with. And so just help us also understand how long would this process likely take, or just use the test case you had. Since you haven't replicated it in our flowing water body, which is more dynamic and all, just tell us roughly as we sit, what's the idea of time frame?
You see, piloting of this technology is more or less an iterative process, where you move from the very basic and the very simplistic and then compound the situation to almost get to the reality that you are dealing with. So I have been at EPA since April, and I think by June, when I entered the boardroom and saw the murky water, within a matter of 2 months, you could see significant change in the water. Now, we are asking the question, if it is able to do this within the bottle or the apparatus, if we expand it to, let's say, real Galamsey site, what is going to be the result? So when we say we are trying to see how we move this to the next level, we want to move from, let's say, the lab situation or the experiment situation to, let's say, an on-site experiment now, where we try to put this chemical inside a Galamsey restricted area and then see whether the effects are going to be the same. Can we say that what is happening in our jurisdiction will be the same as in other jurisdictions that the chemical has been used? So that is what
when are we doing this major pilot?
And as the boss rightly said, we live in a period where we all have to have commitment authorizations for whatever processes we are doing. We had ours last week, and we are hoping that very soon we'll be given the all clear to do all the procurements we need, to engage all the service providers that we need. And more importantly, and I want to use this platform to tell the Honorable Kesley Atuforson that I am in charge of operations, so the regions are under me. We have opened about 71 offices across this country to help us fight Galamsey. They don't have vehicles, and our offices are begging for facilities. We have raised these resources, and we want to power these offices so that we can get information. One of the problems we are having with prosecuting illegal miners is that courts work with law and evidence. And if you are not a trained person, you cannot collect the evidence. And this is where we think that our support to NIMOS is very crucial. And we have to operationalize these offices that have been carefully selected across this country to serve as intelligence centers for gathering information. As we sit now, we need that information, and when we need those resources, and we will have to be given the green light to get that. A delay is not an option. It's not about anybody, it's about this country and the environment, and we have to get that going. But having said that, once we get all the all clear and we engage our researchers, I'm sure we'll share those results with Ghanaians and bring to bear the practicalities of the technologies we are doing. But the long and short is that all these things are designed to help nature. The best thing is to stop the scourge, to almost eliminate new areas being degraded further. And we need to, of course, send a message to those financing Galamsey. One thing Elikam also said that we are trying to sweep under the carpet is our effort to demechanize. Oh, I hope I don't get into trouble with another word. We want the demechanization of Galamsey. And can you believe?
Can you operationalize the word for us?
Demechanization of Galamsey is to take the mechanical power or the equipment that are being used in Galamsey out to make it difficult for people to get access to that mechanical power. You realize that it may shock you, but until this year, excavators were not registered in this country. I heard the same person saying that just go to DVLA and look for the owner of the excavator and go and arrest it. That data is not there. Excavators were not ready, so you could just drive an excavator after clearing it straight into the bush. Now, you not only require a license to import it, it's not registered, you have to get a license to import it.
Okay.
And after importing it, you have to bring it, it will be tracked, and then you'll be geofenced. That means that you are going to be given a particular jurisdiction to operate that excavator. And once our signals detect that it's out, we come for it, and the owner and they will face justice. It is the first time that you are going to have excavators being registered in this country. People don't talk about it, but this is the extent to which we are going to ensure that the mechanical power that is driving the destruction of our environment is curtailed to a large degree.
Right, Prof. Elikem, Prof spoke about resourcing EPA officials on the ground. It's also a major concern for Forestry Commission officials. I remember there was a raid earlier this year. The Western region discovered an entire community where illegal mining was happening. In fact, when they got there, they were overwhelmed because what they were planning for and what was on the ground were worlds apart.
Yeah.
And so they even had to bring in the military because it could have been a bloody confrontation between the people in that community and your officials. What is the challenge with the Forestry Commission?
The current Forestry Commission that we have, as we see it, established in 1999 by Act 571, it's what we have currently. The number one constraint has been, which is with every other agency, is budgetary allocation. But we need to make do with what we have and be a bit very prudent.
But if Galamsey is a priority,
it's a priority, and so let me say that we also had our time 2 weeks ago with the finance minister, and he did not give any inhibitions to the Forestry Commission, or in particular to the NIMOS, because the requests that NIMOS has put in place are all going to be granted by the finance minister, who also is caretaker minister for the Ministry of Defense. So he had an understanding of the enormity or the gravity of the situation at hand. With over 288 forest reserves, it tells you we need a lot of people. Currently what we have is about maybe 1 or 2 persons guarding a radius of maybe 10 to 20 kilometers radius.
What?
Yes.
And they are not even armed.
They are not even armed. And so, yes, you've reminded me. Thank you. So when you go, I was going to say this, when you go to our neighboring countries, the forestry commissions are purely paramilitary. And for us, it's only the wildlife division. There are 3 divisions in the forestry commission: the wildlife division, the TIDD, which is Timber Industry Development Division, and the FSD, Forestry Services Division. Forestry Services Division headed by Dr. Abu-Baidoo. Then also, so they are more paramilitary. But in Ghana, that is not the case. Look, if I have my way, and before this government leaves office and President Mahama says that let's begin to make some amendments, and the amendment should include making the Forestry Commission a complete detachment of military, so that all the civilians, it's not to sack them, but let's find other alternatives for them to, and then deploy military fully into the Forestry Commission. I'll be the number one to okay that.
But why wouldn't you rather be the one to propose it before it is okay?
By what I'm saying here, I'm even proposing it. Okay. I mean, I'm telling you, because we need to see the Forestry Commission because the Forestry Commission is protecting the forests. There's a saying that when the last tree dies, the last man dies. We are also, most of our water bodies are taking their source from the forests. And there's a saying that water is what? It's life. And so these two things are major issues of national security interest. And so after having declared even these places as security zones, I think that in the future we should be looking at how to make the Forestry Commission a complete military institution that would manage. That is the case in our neighboring countries. That is the case in our neighboring countries. And when the military are involved, you know, some level of higher discipline will even be restored there than civilians. That is just the truth. And I will look forward to seeing even that, if God willing, it is done under the tenure of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. Having come to meet what I know, I believe strongly that these are some of the measures, but these are long-term measures that can be put in place in order to resolve the matters at hand. For instance, over 5,500 hectares of land that require reclamation. By going by the previous administration standards, it costs about $35,000 to reclaim a hectare of degraded land. So if we are doing 5,500, multiply that by $35,000, and you can tell how much we are looking at. Which government
have you done your own assessments? Do you agree that it will cost us that much?
It will cost still around, it is still hovering around that. It will still be hovering around that. And the only good news is that the city has gained some stability with the dollar, and therefore, just as we are all aware that by the potency of the city alone, our public debt has been reduced by 150 billion. So that same figure, even though it still remains that the city's potency makes it a bit reduced now. Yes.
So, Prof, while we wait for the impact to kick in, the results to trickle down, I'm particularly concerned about people at home who are watching us now. Someone reached out to me and said, since we broke the news about Kontumre being contaminated, she can't have her healthy, otherwise thought healthy Ampesi and Kontumre.
Just a quick one.
She's worried about that.
I lived in Takwa. My dad is an engineer. We were in Takwa Terere Gold Fields for 3 years. There used to be one crop called Inchubu. I don't know its foreign English name, etc. Now there's no Inchubu even in the whole of Takwa. I remember in JHS, this was one thing, delicacy. It's like the cocoyam, but Inchubu is completely different. And anybody watching from Takwa will tell you that there's no Inchubu even in.
And this is
it also grows like the Kontumre.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a contributing factor.
Is it Mankini?
It's also like Mankini, but it's not.
Mankini is cocoyam.
Yeah, but this it's also exactly like that, and it also grows just like the Mankini, but it's called Inchubu. Okay. Anybody from the Western, especially Takwa,
I'm being told this brobe. I'm not.
No. Inchubu is a special one, a very nice one. We enjoyed there.
Okay, right. And so, Prof, people are worried. The food on our tables. Now we are not too sure whether the healthy options are as healthy as we've been taught. What can we do? Is there any way to go about this while we wait, hopefully, for a permanent solution to this problem? What should we be doing in our homes? The water that runs through our taps, the food that we eat. I mean, is there anything we can do while we are waiting for the big show?
I think the best we can do is to accelerate the rate at which we are trying to reclaim the lands, because, and also try to see whether we can provide some education in terms of what to grow in particular areas. Experts will advise you that when you reclaim lands from Galamsey, you don't immediately put them to certain crops because of the dangers of uptake of these chemicals. So for people living in Galamsey areas, I wouldn't advise that you go plant vegetables in Galamsey areas, because you are just going to take in loads of these heavy metals. We need to get to the point where the agricultural extension agents are made conscious of this reality. But what we need to know as people, especially communities that are secretly and openly supporting illegal mining in their jurisdiction, they should know that they are actually curtailing their own lives and endangering themselves, because after Galamsey, there is actually no immediate agriculture.
Yeah.
So that has to be driven home.
You know the interesting thing, I told you earlier that I've been talking about Galamsey for almost a decade on television. You know what I have encountered is that these young men who are involved in illegal mining simply do not care. Yeah. They don't care. It's all about having the money now. And that's why people think that we should have nipped this in the bud as early as we could and should have been ruthless as early as we should.
That's what I've been saying all along, that the time we could have used brute force alone to stamp out Galamsey, we're patting them in the back. We had people who were in government making it a source of their livelihood, and they become billionaires out of it.
And also people in opposition who at the time were saying that if we can't, we would release all the Galamsey.
Well, that's one thing I
President
say. That's one thing I say. If you are in government, it is your responsibility. And I'm not saying that now there are no people in government who are doing Galamsey or not. All I'm saying is that I don't care. If I get somewhere tomorrow and I'm in charge of an operation and I see Elikam there, I'm not going to show you any mercy. And yes, I may rough other feathers the wrong way, but I'm willing to go that length. And I get that resolve just by looking at the president's face. If you are talking at Galamsey and you are looking at President Mahama, it looks like he's watching for you to make one slip that you are going to help somebody and he will deal with you. So you don't get shortage of support from the president.
But the minority actually thinks he's doing a lot of PR with all the meetings and all that. There are those who feel that, look, we know the issue. We know, in fact, the belief is that you knew the problem in opposition and preferred solutions while in opposition, so it should be easier for you to implement them while you are in government now. So there are those who say that, look, saying that you're calling them the C Association, it's just PR gimmicks to make everybody think that you're actually working.
Just
a minute. While they believe strongly, and the minority in Parliament has issued a statement over the matter, they think that this is all PR. Get to work, go into the forest, clear the place, get the waters back to their normal state.
The discourse around Galamsey has not helped. It has been an issue of equalization.
Right.
That you said do state of emergency. You are now in power, put in state of emergency. Whether the dynamics have changed or not, nobody is talking about that. And that is the problem. Many of the civil society groups that were in the Jubilee House last Friday, after the presentation, they realized that the resolve and the results that they are getting were serious. And there's one thing you mentioned that we didn't talk about it here. That is the responsible corporate social mining initiative. That people who have lived in Galamsey areas, most of them don't know how to farm. They don't have any other skills. And they have made cheap money to the extent that you can't give them that 1,500, 2,000 Ghana cedis and be able to they will see it as an incentive. Secondly, the communities don't feel a part of the resources they own. And that is why the Honorable Amabua said something, that they were going to reform the mining laws so that you can't just pop up from Accra and go and tell a community that your land here, I have a concession to mine in it. The bottom-up approach, that concessions are first gotten from the communities. They have a buy-in. They know that, okay, this is what we are going to get. These are the costs. So the communities that allow people to mine in their jurisdictions know exactly what they have a say in it.
In this case, you're talking about legal mining.
Legal mining. And also, there are some mines that the output is no longer at levels that make legal mining or commercial mining viable. So there is the tendency that you are looking at maybe 0.8 ounce per ton of rocks or whatever. That is still at levels that is viable for small scale and medium scale miners. And our responsible corporate social mining initiative is to get back some of these mines from the large-scale mining communities, including areas that have not been mined, that we are sure that we can give it to local cooperatives, organize these Galamsey people into groups, provide them the training. We are ready to work with them to give them the licenses, and they can mine. So if they say quota, it doesn't matter, we have to mine. We'll help them mine responsibly.
That is if they don't want to go into
if
oil
they don't want to go
plantation,
any oil plant, they don't want to do anything. If they're mining, they want. We'll give you an option, a pathway to responsible and legal mining. That way, it's an all hands and all options on the table. And we believe that with time, we can green Ghana, clean our waters again.
Right, this is State of Affairs. I'm Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah, sitting in for your regular host, Joshua Kojo Mensah. I'm sure you have a lot of questions on your mind. I'll take these few messages. When I come back, I'll make sure to try and attempt to get an answer on all those questions for you. Do stay. Staying with us. Have you heard the latest from MTN? If not, then listen. For those of you who love MTN Free After One, prepare for the upgraded experience. That is MTN Free After One Extra. Now, let me tell you what the Extra is all about. With MTN Free After One Extra, you can talk for 1 whole hour uninterrupted while paying for only the first minute of every 10 minutes you talk, which means that for every 10 minutes you talk within an hour, you're only paying for the first minute, and you get to talk for 60 minutes straight with no interruptions. You like what you hear? Well, as if that's not enough, You also get 50 megabytes of data for free after your first call daily. So you see, now is the time to talk extra with all the people you love. To subscribe to MTN Free After One Extra today, just dial *550#. *550# is what to dial, and follow the prompt so you can enjoy the MTN Free After One Extra. I've still got my guests, CEOs, deputy CEOs of the Forestry Commission and the Environmental Protection Agency, Professor Ayamga and Elikem Kotoko, still talking about our fight against illegal mining, what we've done so far, where we are at now, and what we need to do. Elikem, let me come to you because there's been a lot of things happening on social media, and I made reference earlier to what happened between Ken Ashibe and Deputy Chief of Staff Stan Dugbe. There's also an interesting conversation on social media between Erastus Asare-Donkor, who's been fighting Galamsey for quite some time, and the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amoako-Hene.
Yeah.
Now, Erastus claims there's a certain invasion in a forest. Doc says, I have checked with my Forestry Commission guys. We don't have any information to that effect. I'd like to stay there, since you work with the Forestry Commission. As at today, have you received any information, any intel, any briefing? What's the update on that situation?
Thank you. Not that I'm aware of. I think I came across that. And Erastus, I think people didn't get him right. What he said was a river body, if I'm not mistaken. And river bodies are not under Forestry Commission. So what he should have probably done, let me first and foremost even commend him for what he's been doing so far. He's been one of the well-known environmental journalists, especially when this fight against Galamsey is concerned. I have had a few occasions of engaging him. And I'll always say that our doors are always open to get such information from him. And so what I noticed was that it was about forest water body. And so those are the reasons why either the blue water guards, which maybe may not be at that point, or the NIMOS are the appropriate authorities to reach out to. And I must say that I'm not sure that the doors of these institutions is close to the likes of even Erastus. So maybe it was, people thought it
So
meant,
you think the fight should be moved from social media to directly?
Not only that, to put us, like the president said, it is good to always put a fire to our toes so that we always don't rest on our hours thinking that, oh, we are doing much and therefore this and all that. So it is good Erastus continue to do what he's doing, but I'm sure that we all agree that when those informations are gotten, relaying it to us also will help the process more. There's no problem you putting it out there, but relaying it to us also, because if maybe you put it there and I don't happen to be on social media at that time to see it, or nobody draws my attention, the problem doesn't get solved. And so, pardon me, but it's like putting somebody in a round hole and asking him to wee in the corner. There's no corner there, and they will just keep going round, and nothing gets achieved. So we want to see results. I must commend him for what he's doing, and all others who are doing the same, the CSOs. And that is the reason why it is instructive to reiterate here that President Mohammed's engagement with the CSOs was not only a charade, but rather it gave an opening to even many of them who, even the Conference of Catholic Bishops, their spokesperson made it clear that if not for this engagement, they wouldn't have known that a lot of efforts were being taken in that regard. There were two other people who said same. They therefore advocated that we must intensify publicity so that many get to know what is being done. And that is what is informing the decision of what the minister is tasking us to do, to have an outlet that would give a regular and periodic update on what we're doing. And you know, like I made mention to you, that security men who will be, the military who will be deployed to all these security zones, they are not going there to fight and then get back home to rest. They are being deployed there to be stationed permanently at these places and on rotational basis.
Let me pause you on that. We know that there was some invasion of the sort in one of the first reserves in the Ashanti region. Do you remember which one?
Photo.
Yes. And we understand that the illegal miners went back. So what is the current situation?
So the moment they went back, at the time deployment had not started. So when they went back, that was when Colonel Boa and his men went again to arrest them, the gang of 9 criminals they are referred to today. and they have been brought to Accra as I speak with you, split to various police stations. And I am also aware that the minister himself placed a call to the Attorney General to expedite action on them. But it, however, doesn't mean that it doesn't look like we're in a kangaroo banana republic. So still charges need to be preferred against them, dockets prepared. A little process will be that will take, but it won't be too long for this in particular. We all saw the weapons they had, some pump actions, some pistol, and others. So these are guys who are wielding sophisticated weapons, and in Ewe we call it Pakpatu. You have our forest guards wielding Pakpatu or hunting guns to want to go and confront these guys. You're almost signing your death warrant. But the NIMOS, therefore, is very well equipped, ready, and armed to fight this. And Colonel Bois didn't mince words. In front of the president, he said, Mr. President, may I take your permission to let you know that we'll be dealing with them ruthlessly since this place has been declared security zone. And I give a tacit approval to that in order to fight this. They must be dealt with ruthlessly. Yes.
What exactly does that mean?
It means you should give them VIP treatment, whatever they would describe VIP treatment to be. You will not be spared at all.
Are you going back to the shoot to kill agenda?
Not shoot to kill. That I will not subscribe to that, because no matter what, it is not worth taking another life for other lives that are lost. If not, then there's no need for us calling for peace after all. No need for us going to war to restore peace in those countries. We must still find alternative ways to make sure we nip this in the bud. And that is why President Mahama says he doesn't want to declare a state of emergency, because one of the key things is that it means that I can even say you should shoot to kill, and nobody can question that. This is a democracy. However, those powers enshrined in the Constitution does not mean necessarily you should use them. And like I said, tomorrow you can again be questioned about those actions, even though it was considered an emergency. It may be considered that you went in excess, you went overboard. And when there are states of emergencies, excesses will always happen. Then somebody again become answerable to those things. But it is not, as the President Mahama has said it, I don't feel overwhelmed. I don't feel that there are any powers I want to withdraw or to hold on or draw that I do not have at the moment. If there comes that time, the security corpus will enlighten me, and I will be the #1 person to press that button.
There are those who believe that probably government is gaining something from this, and so we just want to hold on.
I do not see that. You see, we live in a democracy which allows for everybody to say anything, and our unfortunate myopic definition of democracy is one major challenge we are confronted with as a people. Everybody thinks I need to say something, whatever be it, is called democracy. And that is the reason for all of this. I mean, let's face facts. This is 8 months or 9 months of a government in power, and it's been very decisive. No issuance of licenses. 9 red zones have been reclaimed. LI 2462 to be repealed. Security zones declared in forest areas and river bodies. Excavators are now being registered, being tracked, and being geofenced. NIMOS is there to be the sole task force to fight this battle, so that we don't have people clothing themselves with so many unwarranted powers to go and compromise the mission. And here comes the responsible corporate mining and skills development program being headed by Engineer Frank Pedro. Our chiefs also need to be actively involved, because they understand this better. The media play a very critical role, and we will be engaging you more, because imagine, Bernice, that every day of your program you spend even just a minute or two to talk about environmental degradation, the impact of Galamsey, etc. You are equally contributing to the educational process.
Right. President Mahama says that he has no personal interest in Galamsey. Yeah. But knowing the kind of politics we do in this country, he may have no personal interest. Could there be big wigs in the NDC who have personal interest? Could there be influential people who have personal interest, people who supported his campaign who have personal interest?
Not one that I know of now. For instance, just today, I found out that the president of the Ghana National Small Scale Miners Association, one Mr. Pepra, put out there that he knows of no party functionaries involved in Galamsey, but rather he can still tell that people of the previous regime are. I do not want to even delve into that. The point is that if you are involved, stop it. If not, if found, there will be no I am sorry, there's no begging, there's no big man behind you. No such person. And so if you know anybody, don't only go screaming out there that we know NDC people, we know NPP people. Volunteer that information and let's go after them and track them, so that we can be able to nip this in the bud. The damage they are causing is not to NDC, it's not to MPP, it is to all of us. And so even though I must state here and now that there is politics involved in everything we do, like it or not. It takes political will and decision to resolve things.
Yeah, you mean
and
partisan politics?
Partisan politics, I mean, like it or not. It takes one to be prepared. It takes one to be ready. It takes one to be willing. It takes one to enforce. It takes another to say that there's no more going to be any licenses. I just gave you an example. At the time, November 2022, when the LI was introduced to allow mining in the forest.
On the point of the non-issuance of licenses, and it is an achievement you may want to trumpet.
Not necessarily.
But we know that this is an illegality. And most of the time, they don't even need licenses to start with. So the non-issuance of a license for many people is neither here nor there.
But you see, just say something there. You see, when you get a license to go and a permit to go and mine, you get a license, then you get a permit to go and mine, and then you get to the your site, and you realize that just the next place that you don't have a permit to mine in, it's rich in gold. The technology we use in prospecting is still not the best yet. So we do a lot of guesswork. So you could get to a place and then you don't have gold in there. That is where that fine boundary between legal and illegal
So
mining
that's the
comes in.
prospecting you're talking about. Is it a prospecting?
You could do a prospecting and then you miss the gold vein. But then it is now just close to your concession by a waterbed. By the day you are in your concession, by night you are outside there doing illegal mining. So not giving him the license in the first place to be in the in his jurisdiction is the best way to prevent him from getting to the
So that's half the problem solved.
That's half the problem
because
solved.
there are people who don't have licenses at all
who
are mining.
Yes, and there are people who have licenses but are doing illegal mining.
Exactly. So, so the definition of the illegality is not about whether they have been permitted to do it or not, but what exactly they're doing on the ground. That is working, for example, in water bodies or within a radius not permitted. Right. Okay. So that's a good one. So, I mean, you were talking about.
But you asked Pedro a question. Let me just get in there, and I find it quite mind-boggling that you see somebody engaged in illegal mining, then you don't know the name, you don't know his identity, but you know his party. Can you imagine that?
But the people in the community,
it is easier. Wouldn't it be easier for you to have alerted somebody, a security person, that this fellow is doing illegal mining, rather than coming to say, okay, this party guy is doing? It doesn't make sense. If you know anybody who is doing illegal mining, forget about his party, come report. And if you report that fellow to a law enforcement person, somebody in the fight against illegal mining, and they do nothing, take them to the media. We want to see these examples rather than that generic, broad blaming of people that they are people of your political colorization doing things, and you ask who. They say, we know them. How do you know somebody's party and you don't know his name? It just doesn't wash well. Let's be more serious with this thing.
Right. And so we know that there is a certain number to reach out to NIMOS.
Yes,
I'll give you time to do that, but let me just bring a bit of perspective to what we mentioned earlier between the Ashanti Regional Minister and Erasto. So Erasto says it's a sad scene in Tobroso in the Nyinehini rather, within Itrimamponua district, mining in the Ofin River right now. Informant prevented from taking pictures. So that's what he was talking about. So Dr. Frank Amakwine comes to say, thanks for the news. I did a quick follow-up. Forestry Commission has the task to watch and prevent these invasions and escalate. Same for assistance if they are not able to handle the situation. I just called the Forestry Commission. I know such report has come to his attention. Kindly assist with details of informant or advice. He reports to the nearest forestry officer police station. But you say that once it's happening within a river body, it's not within the purview of the
It's not, but it doesn't rule out the fact that there may be a forestry official, etc., around there who, even having spotted that, knowing it's not his jurisdiction, can still report. And that is why I must applaud the regional minister, Frank Amakwine, for what he's doing. You see, he is bent on trying to get to the source, to get that information, so he can also relay it to the appropriate authority for action to be taken. And that is what it's supposed to be. If you have any information and you need to reach out to NIMOS, their number is 024 0700 487. 024 024 0700 487. 024-0700-487. That is the number to reach NAMOS on. But some of you who know some of us also can equally reach out. I work very closely with NAMOS on their daily activities and everything they do, and Professor Ayamga as well too. So once you know us, you can always reach out. And a few people do these things to us. And subsequent days we'll see a lot of unfolding drastic actions being taken at certain places. And some of these are also on need-to-know basis. Somebody will say because what information I have and where we will be acting and doing all of those things, the minister is very bent on. Unfortunately, we have a president who wants to be very on top of briefs. And so he reaches out to the minister almost every now and then. So the minister is always on our neck every now and then. What is happening? I have heard this, follow up this, do that. So when you know your minister is even very much aware of these things, you cannot under any circumstance. Let me say this here. For instance, when we won elections, even when we won the December 7 election, I had 2 calls from people telling Charlie, this is the way we need the meal concession now. Look at that. And I just could not say anything but say, no, I'm so sorry, thank you. You get it. Then there are other instances where people feel they should entice you, amongst other things. But there's that discipline you must have to avoid this, because this is a major canker. Let me state here again. I keep saying that I'm a parent. For instance, if, God forbid, however, my daughter, who is young, that is denied of a husband maybe in the next 5 years or 10 years when she is due, could it be that maybe her future husband was killed to Galamsey or was born with some defect and didn't see life and all that? We do not know how it can affect us in one way or the other.
I get your point.
And so I am very concerned about these. Look, as we speak now, the major worry that should have been facing Forestry Commission should have been illegal logging. But we have now drifted all away from that to illegal mining. And today, as we speak, a while ago, maybe tomorrow or next, for instance, the first, Ghana is the first country in Africa now to sign on to FLEGT, Forest Law Enforcement and Governance Treaty, which is to mean that every timber fell in Ghana can be traced by the buying company or agency in the European Union to where it has been fell from and traced as to whether it's been replaced. A major achievement. It started as far back as 2009.
So
and we are not able to,
despite the shift in focus,
we're still doing a lot of
spread
things
in focus,
Yeah.
we are not losing
We're
the
not
fight
losing-
against
we are not losing the
logging,
fight,
because
yes,
that is
as well.
also
That's
another
also
thing,
another area.
and deforestation,
Deforestation.
as well. All right.
Yes.
I mean, let me just bring a quick update, especially on how much the EPA is hoping to spend on the piloting of the nano-liquid solution. And so the acting CEO, Professor Klucha, has been saying that you need about $200,000. So that's a lot of money to pilot it. And so let's see how that works. But on that point, Elikem, the seizure of excavators during the previous government was also a matter of concern for a lot of people. Some of them were burned, some of them were taken to certain destinations, and later they could not be traced. And quite recently, we've had some information about the movement of excavators, which the president clarified.
Yeah.
So how different is NIMOS treating this? When NIMOS goes, because you said they will give VIP treatments, I just want to understand how that extends to...
I mean, when the military is going to give you a VIP treatment, you better not want it.
Excavators and equipment.
You better not want a VIP treatment from NIMOS when the military is involved. And as I speak with you, there's a team going around, sanctioned by the minister, to take a proper inventory of all heavy moving...
Lands Minister, you mean?
Yes.
Or Transport Minister?
Lands Minister, Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Honorable Makofibwa, to take a proper inventory of... so as you can see, that is a member of the team actually reaching out. I'm sure it's an update they want to give me on what they are doing. And they are going around to just make sure that they take proper inventory. What happened, I know the president clarified, but it's just okay to say it again, that there's always heavy traffic during the day, as you and I are aware. The congestion at the port with our excavators alone became something very, very huge. And there was a need for us to decongest the port. So the military gave sites that we could move these things to in order to allow for the registration, the tracking, etc. If the owners do not come for them after a while, government has the right to confiscate and see what action to do with them. It can be deployed into construction works, etc. Don't forget, President Mahama is embarking on a research agenda, which means that the whole of Ghana is under construction anyway. So there will be the need for all of these to facilitate this process. So because there's traffic during the day, they do not move these things on the low beds during the daytime. It will cause heavy traffic. So they are rather moved at night when there is little or no traffic at all.
So NIMOS is not burning any excavators?
No, but they are demobilizing these excavators.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, demobilization is demobilization. And so I can only tell you that it doesn't include burning.
But they're making it impossible for those
for you to use
excavators
again. Because
to be
what
used
happens
again.
is that when you even take out the so-called control board, etc., they have a way of still operationalizing it. But NIMOS now will have a way of demobilizing them. And the whole thing is knocked, and you can no longer use them. And this is to make sure that it is a disincentive, because an excavator costs a lot of money. And so we need to do that to deter them. Initially, what was happening is that because we're not burning them, they became so empowered and they felt like, okay, you can't burn them, so you do that and leave. Then they come back later. And mind you, you cannot chase these guys on the site. You try chasing them and you fall in a pit, because they know the location very well. So the moment you find them, they start to run. If you try chasing them, you will fall in a pit. And they know that. They know the place. So you can't chase them. So when you do so and take out the control board or whatever, they come back later and they are able to move the excavators. But now I can tell you, whether it is IEDs that will be put in those excavators to explode, to destroy it completely, it is being done to make sure that it is completely demobilized. And the Forestry Commission is being asked by law to even dispose of these things. As to what dispose is, it's another interpretation for another day.
But I think what you're not even adding is also the issue of shamfangs.
The shamfangs.
The canal bosses, they are being destroyed inside the water. So
how are they being destroyed?
They are immobilized because they feel it's completely a complicated process to bring them out and so on. So they just destroy them in there, and then later we'll have to go and clean the debris. But that is how brutal the fight against Galamsey has gotten. That if they get you with a samfang inside the water body, they're going to destroy it right inside the water there.
We also understand that some of the pumping machines were handed over to
the minister the pumping machines
for farmers.
It's making me feel like I want to start farming, so I can also apply to the minister and say I also need some 1 or 2. Yes, I mean that is putting it to productive use, because over 900 of such was given to the Ministry of Agric and they distributed to farmers to put to good use. About, as I speak with you, about 217 or so have been retrieved again from that.
Talking about them being handed over to farmers, Prof, does it go through EPA to be sure that, you know, the chemicals that are used to wash are not still, you know, residing in the tubes and all that, so that we are sure we are safe and we are not finding another way to contaminate our waters?
The pumps are being given without the tubes, so you
go out,
so
it's just the device.
You go and buy the tubes to use for. So that is to allow for
But
clarity.
Even that. The water still goes through.
I mean, you can rule out once it was used for that exercise.
So please, if that has not been done, please alert the minister that they need to engage. They need to engage.
What they use the pump for is this. It is the pump that is used to take clean water to now clean the process. So it is not dirty water that they use with the pump. They actually use it for the clean water.
But in some instances that I have seen where they're doing it in the water body, they draw the water from the water. So it's almost like a cycle. It's recycling. And so if that has not been considered, I think that we should consider that as well.
Cleaned well, oiled well, and other things. But it's also, yes, a point where considering that we need to clean them.
Going to farmers, we want to be sure we are eating the right things. So.
But I don't think that maybe even if there are some remnants in the machines, they may be in trace amounts and not at the thresholds that can pose significant danger. But yes, it's still a good caution for the Minister of Agric and the lands to collaborate to ensure that there's some disinfection and maybe decontamination of the machines before they are given out. Yeah.
Doc, Prof, you spoke about timelines in terms of reclaiming land. You spoke about between 2 to 3 years, seeing something significant, especially on the impact of possible erosion into our water bodies. Elikem has spoken about how this government is barely a year old, but in his estimation, has been able to make some progress in the fight against Galamsey. I'd like to ask the two of you this question, and I'll take Elikem's response first. What for you would be realistic timelines to see tangible results, clearing the forests and the water bodies of illegal miners and having the contamination of our water bodies and our lands coming to the barest minimum?
Because I know what NIMOS intend to do, and we are in October. I am so convinced that even a quarter from now, there will be very significant improvement that will be visible to the Ghanaian, especially that we will be giving regular updates for you to see what improvements are being done. And I know that before President Mahama leaves office, he will leave our waters blue and our forests green.
Prof?
Yes, normally you check my WhatsApp status. You see things take time. It doesn't matter what happens. If a lady gets pregnant, you know there's a baby inside there. But the baby, it has to take 9 months for the baby to be born. Things have their time that they take to mature. And I believe that if we planted 3 today, just like maybe when we came into power, if we planted 3, the very day President Mahama was sworn in, that tree wouldn't have grown enough today to be able to give us some crops. So as far as reclamation of lands and reforestation is concerned, I believe in a year and a half, we should begin to see tangible results in the areas that we have reclaimed. And then if we combine that with our effort to stem the growth of Galamsey areas, the two should combine and we should begin to have clearer waters. By 2 years' time, we should be proud of our waters again. And this won't be, we won't be discussing Galamsey in this scale in 2 years. I can give you that assurance.
Right. And because I'm someone who is keenly interested in transgenerational impact beyond President Mahama, and on this point, I know that Elikem, for example, is a member of the NDC. I don't know about you, Prof, but he is a member of the NDC and an executive of the NDC. You also a member of the NDC. Okay.
It's just that I'm a national officer. That's
yes,
why
you're a national officer. But I know him to be a professor, so that's the hat.
A professor can be an
No, I know you can. I'm just saying that what I know you to be is
you know
a
him more of
professor
academia than
partisan politics. So thank you for the clarification there. Beyond President Mahama and beyond the dream of the NDC, what should we be doing to ensure that this fight is won by this generation and we never return to it even years after we're gone?
Number one, government must make it a deliberate policy. You see, unemployment has been one major cause of these, but we can't largely put ourselves on that. Greed has been another thing that's been fueling this as well, to many who feel that they must make instant cash more than necessary. But advocacy, which is education. When we continue to educate, that is why I said earlier that short, medium, and long term should work. When we continue to educate our people, educate them over time to realize the impact, the negative impacts of Galamsey and all of these, people will buy into it and begin to stop. Why do we think in certain countries like maybe Malaysia, Indonesia, they say that you can't even chew a gum and then throw it over there? Because it has become a part of them.
Right.
Look, I must say this, that as a people and as a country, there was a time we were becoming so disciplined because we were coming from a military regime through Jerry Rawlings to the democracy, and along the line then we deviated again in the name of democracy. So we need to now intensify advocacy or education.
So for you, discipline is key.
Discipline
Prof,
is
briefly, if you can just tell me what you think.
It's my fear every day that these results we are achieving, this economy we are recovering, let's not be under illusion. One day, it doesn't matter how far it is into the future, and the NDC would be out of power. And my question is, will we have to go through this cycle again? We will have people who make their millions out of the destruction of our forest, and then they come to flaunt that in the media, and nothing will happen. We will get to a point where our military are instructed not to go into forest reserves after Galamsey people. If we are going to go through that cycle again, the solution to it is what I'm going to tell Ghanaians. Elections matter, and who you elect matters.
I'm grateful for your time. Professor Michael Ayamga Dongo is Deputy CEO of the Environmental Protection Agency, and earlier you had Elikem Kotoko, Deputy CEO of the Forestry Commission. Gentlemen, I'm grateful for your time this evening. This has been State of Affairs with me, Bernice, Abu-Baidoo, Lansah. Let's keep the conversations going. It's important that we win this fight against Galamsey. Good night.